I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery.
The royal world is shaking like never before. After years of whispers, cover-ups, and careful smiles, Carole and Kate Middleton have finally revealed the truth about the royal family that they've been hiding for a very long time. This confession flips the royal script and leaves everything we thought we knew hanging by a thread. Could this be something about the future of the monarchy? Join us as we unravel what they finally admitted and why it matters. The Middletons, becoming part of the royal fold. For a long time, the Middletons were seen as nothing more than regular people by those inside the royal circle. They came from Berkshire, lived a normal life, and ran a party supply business. They had no noble titles, no famous family history, and no connection to the aristocracy. Many people thought they would never have any real impact on the royal family. However, over the years, without any loud announcements or show, the Middletons became one of the most important families connected to the monarchy. Carole and Michael Middleton raised their children with care, teaching them strong values like hard work, honesty, and the importance of staying grounded. They did not grow up with luxury or servants, but they learned how to face the real world with strength. These lessons helped shape their children into mature and thoughtful adults. These were the same values that the royal family, surrounded by tradition and formality, sometimes failed to notice. But these exact qualities helped Kate become someone the Queen deeply trusted. As Kate Middleton moved through her journey from being a normal girl to becoming the Princess of Wales, the world watched her with great interest. People admired how she carried herself so calmly and politely. But not everyone noticed the one person who stood behind her the entire time. Carole Middleton, Kate's mother, remained strong, focused, and always present. She was not just a parent watching from the sidelines. She became a guide, a helper, and someone Kate turned to during hard moments. Carole had her own experience with building something from nothing. She started a small business and worked hard to grow it. She understood how to face challenges and how to stay patient. But nothing truly prepared her for the attention that came with royal life. As Kate joined the royal family, the pressure became heavier. There were cameras everywhere, rules to follow, and endless public expectations. Through it all, Carole remained by her daughter's side, always helping her feel safe and supported. When Kate became the focus of media attention, Carole was there. When the palace followed strict royal rules, Carole offered comfort and strength. During the most difficult times, Carole became the person Kate trusted the most. During Kate's pregnancies, when she suffered from hyperemesis gravidarum, a very difficult pregnancy condition, Carole stayed nearby. While the palace chose to remain silent and follow traditional ways, Carole stepped up. She made sure her daughter had peace and protection from the overwhelming spotlight. Carole's help was not loud or obvious, but it was deeply important. She didn't give political advice, but she gave encouragement. Many people close to the family said that it was Carole who gave Kate the courage to stay strong, the grace to remain calm, and the understanding to know when to speak and when to stay silent. These were the same qualities that Queen Elizabeth admired deeply in Kate. These traits were not taught by the palace. They were shaped by the way Carole raised her daughter. The Queen knew how important it was to have someone in the royal family who understood real life, who stayed humble, and who kept a strong sense of responsibility. That understanding passed from mother to daughter became a solid base. As Kate became more involved in royal duties, people began to notice how much she relied on her mother, not just for support, but for wisdom. Carole never looked for attention, but her calm strength helped guide her daughter through one of the most complicated lives anyone could live. It wasn't just Kate who carried that confidence. Pippa and James Middleton, her younger siblings, also showed the same careful nature and calm personality. They lived with the same values: respect, kindness, and determination. They didn't chase fame or position, but they held themselves with steady self-belief. Their behavior showed that true influence does not come from a title. It comes from how you live your life, how you treat others, and how you stay strong in difficult times. Queen Elizabeth saw something special in the Middletons early on. She understood that the future of the monarchy could not only be about tradition and royal bloodlines, it also needed to be about real families, good morals, and people who understood the world outside the palace. The Middletons showed that it was possible to stay grounded even while being close to royalty. Their influence grew slowly but surely. What once seemed like an ordinary family now stood at the center of royal life. The royal family, long shaped by noble history and royal rules, found something new in the Middletons. As Kate continues to take on more responsibility, it becomes clear that the Middletons are no longer outsiders. They are now a part of the royal story. Their journey from a small home in Berkshire to the center of the monarchy shows that the future of royalty is not only about old traditions, it is also about the strength that comes from family, hard work, and values that speak to everyone, not just those born with crowns. But Carole was the only one standing by Kate, destined for each other. From the very beginning of their relationship, William stayed close to Kate. He stood by her side not just as a royal partner, but as someone deeply connected to her in every way. Their connection was deeply rooted in love, trust, and a shared sense of duty. When things became difficult inside the palace, when pressure from the outside world grew heavy, and old traditions began to clash with new ideas, William didn't need to make loud statements. He showed his loyalty through his steady presence and daily actions. Behind the palace walls, life wasn't always golden. There were moments of struggle, fear, and pain. Kate's health brought many challenges, and the endless attention from the media made simple moments feel stressful. Yet through all this, William became her support. He helped her carry the emotional and royal weight, making sure she would not face anything alone. Together, they walked through situations that most people could never imagine. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, and it was clear to those around them that this was not just a formal match. They shared everything, from the pressures of public life to the small details of raising their children. William and Kate were always working together. Unlike the cold and distant royal couples from earlier generations, they showed what true partnership could look like. Their teamwork stretched far beyond appearances. Parenting wasn't something they handed off to others. They stayed close to their children, took part in daily routines, and created a loving and involved family life. Their relationship was deeply shaped by commitment, not just romance. It was a strong working bond built on respect and purpose. In a royal family that often left women feeling alone, Kate was never left behind. She had William beside her, always helping her stand tall. This intentional partnership helped them deal with hard moments and even unexpected events. But more importantly, it changed how people saw the royal family. It gave others a new idea of how modern royalty could live and lead. When the couple stepped out for royal duties, it wasn't just about smiling for cameras. It was about showing unity and fulfilling shared goals. This strength didn't appear suddenly. It came from years of learning and preparing. Kate's calm nature and confident public image were built slowly. Before she became the Duchess the world admired, she spent a long time studying and adjusting. She didn't walk into the role unprepared. She built herself up for it. Before the cameras ever called her Duchess, Kate was known differently. Some even mocked her as Waity Katie, using a nickname that came from her long wait for a proposal. But while many thought she was simply waiting, Kate was doing something else. She was working silently, learning what it meant to live in the royal spotlight. She spent nearly 10 years as Prince William's girlfriend, holding no title, but facing constant attention. The press followed her everywhere, and people picked apart her clothes, her choices, and even her expressions. Instead of letting the pressure break her, she used it to train herself. She listened carefully during private lessons about royal behavior. She studied diplomacy, learned how to manage stressful moments, figured out how to deal with the press, and understood the unspoken ways in which the royal world operated. All of this was done away from the public eye. While she worked normal jobs in fashion and lived through daily media storms, she was also absorbing the lessons that would later help her become one of the most graceful royals in history. So when the proposal finally came and she stepped into the public role of Duchess, Kate wasn't uncertain. She had already been preparing. She didn't fall into her royal position by chance. She walked into it with full awareness and readiness. Her patience, her smart thinking, and her years of behind-the-scenes training shaped the strong figure the world now sees. But no amount of training could fully prepare her for the personal hardships that followed. Her life in the palace came with more than tradition and duty. It brought her face to face with very real human struggles. Motherhood became one of the greatest tests of her strength. For many women, pregnancy is private, but for Kate, each pregnancy became public news. She suffered from hyperemesis gravidarum, a serious illness that left her extremely sick. And all the while, the world watched and waited for appearances, expecting her to remain smiling. She had to push through days of pain, nausea, and exhaustion. Even when she felt her worst, the cameras never stopped. The media followed her relentlessly. But every time she stepped outside, Kate stood tall. Her posture remained graceful. her expression stayed calm. These hard days didn't break her spirit. Instead, they pushed her toward a greater purpose. Her experience inspired her to focus on these issues in her royal work. She understood what it felt like to suffer while being watched, and she wanted to make things better for others who felt the same. In the end, Kate found her biggest challenge in balancing her two roles, being a loving mother and being a modern royal. But she never stepped back from either role. She didn't just follow the rules set before her, she shaped new ones. She embraced social media, took part in hands-on charity work, and brought emotional awareness into royal conversations. In doing so, she gently started a new direction within the royal family. She did it gradually, showing how royalty could grow with the times. However, things began to shift within the monarch, and in unexpected ways, unveiling the long-held secret. The royal family arrived at Balmoral, expecting what they always did: tradition, routines, polite discussions, and respectful remembrance of the past. The grand Scottish estate had always carried a sense of order, where family members gathered in a familiar and proper way. They prepared themselves for another formal occasion, one filled with polite nods, careful words, and silent memories of those who came before them. But this year, things didn't go as planned. The meeting started simply enough, just like before, but it slowly took on a very different shape. Kate, always calm and composed, held a letter in her hand. It was the last message Queen Elizabeth II had written before her passing. When it was time, she began to read it aloud. Her voice carried across the room. The letter's words were clear and strong. They didn't just share memories or offer comfort. They drew a bold line between what had been and what must come next. At that moment, centuries of royal tradition seemed to bend. Charles lowered his gaze, saying nothing. Camilla sat very still, her jaw visibly tense. Anne and Edward looked at each other briefly, exchanging nervous glances. The atmosphere in the room changed suddenly. This letter was more than a farewell. It gave direction, it gave purpose, and it pointed clearly to Kate. It signaled something invisible, but very real. A sense of duty, of leadership, and of trust. From that moment, Balmoral became more than a royal retreat. It became the place where the royal future shifted. The old ways remained, but the path ahead looked different. Kate stood, not as someone simply adjusting to royal life, but as someone now shaping it. The Queen had passed something deeply important to Kate. There was no crown placed on her head, no ceremony, and no speech. But every single person in the room understood. The message was clear. Long before the world began to see her as a future queen, Elizabeth had already chosen her. The connection between them had grown over time, built during private visits, far from the public eye. At Balmoral, away from photographers and formal events, the Queen and Kate spent time together. They walked through the peaceful gardens, shared tea in quiet rooms, and spoke in ways that shaped everything that would come later. During those visits, Queen Elizabeth did something she had never done before. She began breaking her own rules. She gave Kate the freedom no other royal bride had received. She allowed her to find her own voice, make her own choices, and lead in her own way. The Queen didn't do this lightly. She saw something rare in Kate, grace mixed with inner strength, patience, along with a deep sense of duty. It wasn't loud or flashy, but it was consistent and genuine. Over the years, Queen Elizabeth wrote many letters to Kate. She wrote them during important moments, before Kate's royal engagements, during her pregnancies, and when she faced pressure from the outside world. These letters offered advice, encouragement, and lessons. They told her how to stand strong. They explained when to stay firm and when to let go. Each message carried not just care, but also instruction. These notes became the bridge between the late Queen and the woman she believed in. Camilla had the official title, but Kate held the Queen's trust. With every letter, that trust grew into something larger. It became a plan for the future. There was no mystery. There was no confusion. The Queen had written directly, giving instructions, offering guidance, and even sharing warnings. Each note added more to the picture. The Queen had not only cared for Kate, she had chosen her to lead, not just beside William, but as a royal figure with her own role. After the Queen passed, Palisades made a discovery that no one had expected. In a private drawer, they found a group of handwritten letters. All of them had been written by Queen Elizabeth, and every single one was addressed to Kate. These were not random notes. They were personal and deeply meaningful. One of them made things completely clear. The Queen had written without any hesitation that Kate was the future Queen Consort. Meanwhile, Princess Anne knew all along that their mother had always believed in Kate, not just as a supportive wife, but as someone capable, someone the crown could rely on. For Camilla, this moment was difficult. She had walked into Balmoral confident, knowing she was the queen consort. She had the crown, the title, and the position. But the discovery of these letters shrinked everything. They weren't just kind words. They showed a deep and long-standing plan. A plan that placed Kate at the center of the royal future. The queen had bypassed many old customs, not for change's sake, but because she had seen something clear and unyielding in Kate. As the content of the letters spread through the palace, the meaning became impossible to ignore. They pointed to a future that was already being shaped long before the Queen's final days. And then, with perfect timing, Princess Anne revealed something else, a detail no one had expected. A final piece of the story. And with that, everything changed again. The replacement. Camilla had entered the meeting room with her head held high. She wore the title of Queen Consort with pride. Her steps were steady and her expression calm. Everything about her showed confidence. After many years in the background, she had now become a central figure in the royal family. She stood beside King Charles with grace, dressed in the finest clothes, her every move watched by cameras and the public. She had made it to the top. But after hearing the letter, there was doubt. Something didn't feel as solid as it seemed. Before her passing, Queen Elizabeth had left Princess Anne as a custodian of her final words and thoughts. These were not meant for everyone to hear. But that very day, Princess Anne spoke up. She told them about a conversation she once had with the late Queen. Anne explained that Queen Elizabeth believed the future of the monarchy would be safe in the hands of Kate, the Princess of Wales. She believed Kate had the trust of the public and the right kind of personality to carry the crown through hard times. The moment those words were spoken, something shifted. Camilla's face changed just slightly. It was small, but those close to her saw it. It was not anger or shock. It was disappointment. It was the feeling of being replaced. After all the effort she had put into proving herself, did this mean her role was always meant to be temporary? Camilla had worked hard for many years to become accepted. Slowly, she had moved from being a background figure to standing proudly beside the king. But now it seemed that her place might not be fully secure. Maybe, just maybe, she had only been filling a space until Kate was ready. Perhaps the late queen had planned it that way all along. She had always cared deeply about the future of the royal family, and she knew change was coming. Camilla represented tradition. Kate represented something new. Publicly, Camilla and Kate appeared united, but behind the scenes, things were more complicated. One of the clearest moments came when Queen Elizabeth chose to lend her most important jewels to Kate instead of Camilla. This wasn't just about necklaces and earrings. In the world of royalty, these choices mattered deeply. They sent messages without using any words. Camilla saw it, so did others. Slowly, Kate was being given more and more of the Queen's trust and approval. Camilla stood for the old way, rules, formality, and keeping distance. She believed in the quiet dignity that the royal family had followed for centuries. She followed protocol closely and kept her emotions guarded. Kate, however, did things differently. She spoke gently, but her actions were strong. She visited people often. She smiled easily. She hugged the children. She laughed with families. Each of her appearances was natural and warm. People related to her. They trusted her. Over time, these small moments started to add up. Kate didn't just follow royal traditions. She reshaped them slowly and carefully. Her work in mental health, motherhood, and education made her even more popular. These were areas that royalty had once stayed away from. They were considered too personal, but Kate leaned into them fully. She wasn't loud or aggressive about it. She just kept showing up day after day, reaching people directly. Some inside the palace didn't like it. They felt her way was too relaxed, but the public loved her for it. She made royalty feel more human. While Camilla wore the crown, Kate won the hearts of the people, and those hearts mattered more and more in a modern world where tradition alone wasn't enough. Kate was not pushing back the crown. She was giving it a new shape, one that fits with the times. Through small acts of kindness, through modern choices, Kate had become the future of the monarchy. The late queen had seen it clearly. In her final notes, she made her thoughts known. She believed in Kate. She believed that Kate would carry the royal family forward into a time of change. These were not decisions made in anger or without care. They were deeply thought out. In this royal world, nothing is said randomly and without reason. Everything is done with symbols, with timing, and with choices. Camilla and Kate never had a loud conflict. They didn't need to. The difference between them was felt in every public event, every choice of clothing, every word spoken to the press. It was a slow, steady shift. Now, with Camilla as queen consort and Kate standing beside Prince William, the path seems clear. Camilla holds the present, but Kate holds the future. Kate's rise wasn't sudden or accidental. It was planned, careful, and very much supported. The change didn't happen in a single moment. It happened over years through public appearances, charity work, and silent support from Queen Elizabeth. Even though Camilla continues to wear her title, she does so with dignity. But deep down, she must know that she was part of a much bigger plan. A plan shaped not just by love for tradition, but by the need for a monarchy that could grow and adapt. The shift has already started, and now the crown will continue to move gradually and eventually into new hands, the long road to acceptance. When Camilla joined the royal family, many people across the country felt strongly against her. They didn't see her as someone who belonged in the royal spotlight. In their eyes, she had taken the place of Princess Diana, who was still loved deeply by the public. Even though she married Prince Charles, many thought of her as the person who caused the breakup of a very special marriage. The media repeated this idea again and again, shaping how the public saw her. This image of Camilla as the woman who came between Charles and Diana stayed with her for many years. Changing this view took a lot of effort. Her path into royal life was slow and very carefully planned. Nothing happened quickly, and each step forward had to be taken cautiously. Inside the royal family, opinions were mixed. Some members accepted her, but others felt unsure or even upset. One of the strongest reactions came from Queen Elizabeth II. She didn't like the idea of Camilla marrying her son, and she didn't hide her feelings. For a long time, the Queen kept herself distant from Camilla. She didn't talk about her in public, and she didn't invite her to many royal events. Years passed before she made any move toward acceptance. In the year 2000, she attended a birthday party at Highgrove House where Charles and Camilla were living. It was a small gesture, but it meant something. It showed that the Queen was starting to slowly soften. However, her support came very carefully. She didn't rush. It felt like the late Queen was mirroring the public mood, warming up to Camilla little by little. Even when she gave permission for the marriage, she decided not to attend the civil wedding. That choice said a lot without using any words. It showed that even though she accepted the marriage on paper, she still had strong feelings about it. The wedding felt formal, but it didn't have the warmth that often surrounds such events. There was something missing emotionally. That emotional gap was easy to see. During the official wedding photos, the mood was noticeably awkward. Charles and Camilla stood at the front, but the Queen and Prince Philip stayed further back. They did not come forward for close photos. This may have seemed small, but it clearly showed that the family wasn't completely united. Princess Anne, Charles's sister, was even more distant. Her face showed no joy, and she didn't smile. She looked away from Camilla during the event. Her reaction, though unspoken, made it very clear that she was not happy with the marriage. Although Camilla was now Charles's wife, her place in the royal family was still debated. People wondered if she should be doing royal duties. Some didn't want her to represent the crown. Her past continued to follow her. Queen Elizabeth herself wasn't sure in the beginning. She didn't immediately feel comfortable with Camilla taking on roles within the Church of England. These doubts and delays made Camilla's role even harder to define. She tried hard to protect her relationship with members of the royal family while also trying to gain public support. Behind the scenes, Charles worked very slowly and carefully. He wanted to make sure his future as king would not be affected. He also worked to win over his mother. Over time, he made small but important changes, showing people a different side of Camilla. Then in February 2022, something major happened. The Queen gave her public support, saying she wanted Camilla to become Queen Consort when Charles became king. This changed a lot. It gave Camilla a much stronger place in the royal fold. However, even with this strong statement from the Queen, not everyone agreed. Across the country, people reacted in different ways. Some felt it was the right decision and believed Camilla had earned it over time. Others could not forget the past and still spoke against her. The memories of what had happened with Diana still felt fresh for many, making Camilla's role remain difficult. She still had to work hard to be accepted by the public. Camilla tried to settle into royal life. She acted warmly and friendly, trying to make new connections. But her relationship with Princess Anne stayed cold. Though they were polite in front of others, people close to the family said they were never close. Their personalities were different. Camilla took a more relaxed approach to royal life. She preferred things to feel calm and light. Anne, on the other hand, followed rules strictly and believed in tradition. She took her duties seriously. These differences made it hard for them to connect. Anne had always been known for working hard and taking her role seriously. She didn't like when things seemed unplanned or too casual. When Charles married Camilla, Anne was not pleased. Their early years together were filled with tension. Camilla was still learning what her new life required. Anne didn't make it easier. Even though both women were committed to the royal family, Anne stayed doubtful. She barely agreed with how Camilla handled things. These tensions added pressure inside the royal household. When Charles became king and Camilla took her place as queen consort, old wounds reopened. Some welcomed her, praising her loyalty and quiet dedication over the years. Others still saw her as a symbol of past betrayal. Despite the crown, acceptance remained out of reach. Camilla had spent years supporting Charles, staying in the background, working carefully to earn her place. But then came Kate, elegant, calm, and immediately embraced by the public. Kate seemed to glide into royal life with ease. Everything Camilla had fought for, Kate received without struggle. The comparisons were impossible to ignore. Kate reminded many of Diana, graceful, beloved, natural. Camilla, often standing beside her, was overlooked. At events, the cheers were for Kate. Cameras followed her every move. Camilla, though queen, felt invisible. Trying to assert herself, Camilla took on more royal responsibilities. But it was clear Kate's influence was growing. Her young family represented the monarchy's future. Her elegance, youth, and quiet confidence made her a favorite, not just in the public eye, but in palace circles too. And then, everything changed. Letters from Queen Elizabeth surfaced. In them, the late queen subtly pointed to a future led by Kate. These weren't dramatic proclamations, but quiet signs of trust. Kate wasn't just a royal consort. She was being prepared to lead. Camilla, once confident in her role, now faced quiet doubt. The queen's words cast a long shadow. Whispers grew. Was Kate the true queen in waiting? Kate, for her part, had never sought power openly. With the support of her mother, Carole Middleton, she was prepared slowly, carefully, and with intention. Behind the scenes, trust had been built, not with headlines, but with grace. Now the public sees it too. Kate carries herself with the kind of strength that isn't loud but undeniable. She's becoming the monarchy's anchor, not through tradition, but through connection, stability, and quiet leadership. Camilla may hold the title, but Kate holds the future. The monarchy is evolving, and at the center of this shift is a woman who never rushed, never demanded, but earned it all through trust and quiet preparation. This is more than a royal transition. It's the start of a new era. Do you think Kate would be able to lead the monarchy right? Let us know your views in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos